Victoria City Planning Commission regular meeting for Thursday, September the 18th, 2014. I'd like to call to order. Anybody has cell phones on, please turn it to silence. First thing, it's not on the agenda, but I'd like to welcome Mr. Zachary Caney to our board. I appreciate you volunteering to come on this commission, so I look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, next thing up to order, we have to elect officers for the this year, 2014-2015. So we'll go ahead and, do I hear any nominees for, we'll start with the chairperson.
I nominate Dan Michalunka for doing a fine job this past year, and I'd like to continue the vote of confidence.
I'll second that.
So I got You're blessed. All right. So we have myself nominated by Mr. Woods, a second by Mr. Hyatt. Oh, no, Mr. Rashid. All right. All those in favor, say it by show of hands.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right. I guess I got it again. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
I'm glad you didn't raise your hand for opposed.
No, I wasn't gonna. I don't vote. I don't vote on this. All right. We'll go ahead and we need to elect a vice chairperson. Do I hear a nominee for vice chairperson?
I'll nominate John Hayek again.
Second.
Okay, we got nominated Mr. Hayek by Mr. Rashid and second by Mr. Woods. All those in favor of show of hands?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Congratulations again, sir. All right, now for the secretary, I need a nominee. Anybody?
I nominate Greg.
Second.
All right. Mr. Spears has been nominated by Mr. Rashid, second by Mr. Woods. All those in favor, show of by a hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Easy enough.
All right, we got that little chore out of the way. So let's go ahead and look at the meeting. The next on the agenda is looking at the meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them. Yep. Do I have a motion?
Good to me.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay, Mr. Hayek has a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Woods. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes pass. Okay. Now, we are going to open up this meeting to citizen communication. Anybody in the audience wishing to address the commission on issues not specifically on our agenda tonight, please do so at this time. And please limit your to 5 minutes. Okay? Looks like we don't. I'll go ahead and close that. We'll go ahead and give it to Mr. Jarrett. Development and review and formal action.
Good afternoon, Commission. Be a one-man show for you tonight. Our other staff is in training this week. So our first agenda item is a final plat approval with a variance from Millennium Industrial Park. This property is located on US 59, just not too far away from Beck Road, just south of that. So it's between the airport and Beck Road on the northwest side of the highway there. As I said, it's a final plat with one variance request. It's an 18.3 acre tract. The applicant's proposing to plat the property into 7 industrial lots. We actually have an industrial building on the front lot that's currently under construction. Of course, since there's no city building permit authority in the ETJ, that's allowable, and it will sit on that first lot in the front there. So if you've been by, you might have noticed that construction. Here's a shot of the plat. As I said, that lot number 7 is the one with the industrial building under construction today. There's a couple of aerial photos for you to see. We didn't bother to take pictures because there's not a whole lot to see from the highway out there. So just a couple of different angles for you to look at. Since it is in the ETJ, water service is going to be provided by individual water wells. They'll have individual septic systems for their sanitary sewer service, and all of the drainage improvements are proposed to be graded into swells that'll flow into the existing creek. No detention is required because of its close proximity to the creek. As stated before, this application, as well as the next 2 agenda items, have variance requests to Section 2155L, which requires each lot that's going to be subdivided to have frontage on a public street. This one proposes a private access easement in the center of the plat. They're calling it Starship Avenue. Basically, it's an access easement that would connect and provide all of those lots in the rear with access to US 59. Obviously, the approval of the variance would allow them to access those lots via that private access easement. Basically, accepting the variance would allow the property owner to develop the property with the limited amount of public frontage that they have. Some things in favor of it is it shouldn't negatively impact the surrounding property, and allow for more development on the lot with limited frontage on public streets, and it'll reduce the number of driveways that would be potentially entering on the US 59. And against the variance, obviously we're granting some non-conforming lots, the formation of those, and there is the obvious alternative of developing either fewer lots or building a county standard roadway. And staff does recommend approval of the variance request. And since this is a final plat, if you recommend approval of the variance request, this fund language you'll need to read for your approval. With that, that concludes staff's presentation on this agenda item.
All right. Go ahead and, any questions? I'm going to go ahead and open it up for a public hearing. Do you have anybody on this?
Public hearing or no?
Well, I'm going to. At this time, I'd like to open it up for a public hearing on this variance. Anybody wishing to speak on this subject, please do so at this time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Go ahead and have our final plat and variance deliberation.
Jared, what's the alternative when you were saying the alternative would be to construct a rural road meeting the city's minimum standards? What's their alternative to this?
Their alternative to building that road is what they're proposing.
No, I'm saying,
Oh, the alternative to build, other than that?
other than this.
They could reduce the number of lots to probably 4 that would each have frontage on 59.
And each
In other
would have
words-
its own entrance that way.
And each would have its own entrance, and we'd have, 4 or more driveways entering and exiting onto that 75-mile-an-hour highway there.
Okay. I just want to know the alternative.
I'm glad you asked that.
And Jerry, I was just curious, and you already answered it, but, so they're allowed to build one building.
Sure, right now it's one 18-acre tract, so technically it hadn't been subdivided yet, so, they can,
Could they have built as many buildings as they wanted? Because it's outside the city limits, but still within the EJ.
as long as they did not create lots smaller than 5 acres, and every lot had public access, then sure, they could build as many buildings as they want out there. They could just, I guess that's another alternative, is they could, just simply lease those pad sites. But yeah, they're outside the city limits, and no building permits are required. All we have is the subdivision of the land authority out there.
And last question, where would, if somebody wanted to build outside the city limits but was unsure, if they were within the ETJ or not, where would they find that, just out of curiosity?
Well, they could contact our office. Alternatively, they could look on the city's internet, our website. You can click on the GIS, the interactive mapping link, and there's a layer on that map that'll show you that boundary. It's a 3.5-mile radius around the existing city limit line.
This one in particular is right there, I think.
Sure, it's,
Right on
I
it.
think, 1.5 miles or something outside the city limits.
Are there any objections to the neighbor to the right there in the picture?
We haven't received any,
Looks
Any
like
correspondence?
somebody's already got some sort of.
sure, there is a development just to the, I guess, kind of the east, towards
But
Beck
there-
Road.
We haven't received any objections from them. They've received notice and all that good stuff, so.
Right.
Anybody else?
Looks like a good industrial development.
No?
Does.
I kind of like the I wouldn't want to put more roads onto a 75-mile. I'll give my 2 cents worth in that. So do I hear a motion for the?
So moved.
We have a motion on the table to approve the variance
Second.
by Mr. Rashid and second by Mr. Woods. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, now the variant, okay, if I'm not mistaken, we got to have that,
Yes, sir. Since you've approved the variance, if you're going to approve the plat, you'll need to read this fun
right.
paragraph here to approve it.
Okay, that the final plat of Millennium Industrial Park be disapproved, subject to the approval of the submitted variance request by the city council and the reoffer of any dedications upon approval of said variance. If the variance is approved by the city council, the plat will be considered approved by the planning commission.
Okay, we have that on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Woods. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
All right. Your next agenda item tonight, E2, is Aloe Landing. This one is a preliminary plat for you to approve tonight again with the same variance that we saw on the last agenda item. This tract of land is out at the Aloe Field, Quail Creek area of the county, also in the ETJ. It's a 19.35 acre tract bounded by Duck Drive and White Wing Drive. It's also adjacent to, across the street from, the Quail Creek Municipal Utility District offices. And for this particular plat, the applicant's proposing to create 23 manufactured home residential lots and 1 general commercial lot. Today, the property contains an existing manufactured home park that's on Lot 1, Block 2, that will remain on the property. There's a look at the preliminary plat. Let's see if I can make my... There we go. If you can kind of see my cursor there, this track right here is part of the Quail Creek Mud offices. I believe this is some storage or something that's used by them today. The existing mobile home park is here, and this is Duck Drive. It's currently a private or unimproved right-of-way that will be dedicated to the public and built to the city's ETJ standard. This unimproved right-of-way that's on the north or the top of this plat, White Wing would not be dedicated to the public and not be improved to a city standard. It would be a private access easement. Aerial photograph basically showing what I was just describing. Another view looking from, well, I don't know what direction that is, but looking from the north, I think. Since this one's a little different, if you'll recall, last time we did an ETJ plat out in Quail Creek, it's a little different because they are served by the municipal utility district. The lots are smaller. They're not served by water wells and septic tanks. Are served through utilities that are provided by that municipal utility district. So an 8-inch water line will be extended to serve this development, as well as an 8-inch sewer line. And of course, the drainage will follow the natural contours of the land and into the existing roadside ditches that are out there. Access is going to be provided via Duck Drive, which is currently is an existing private road, and White Wing Drive, which is an existing gravel road that's undedicated. As I said before, the developer intends to dedicate Duck Drive and convert that into a public road. With White Ring and those other two 1-block stretches of dirt road or gravel roads, those would remain private, but would be constructed and maintained to support fire and emergency response vehicles. Same variance request as last time, section 2155L, which requires each lot to have frontage on a public street. So those lots that are fronting only on White Wing Drive are the ones that won't have access to a public street. They'll have access via that private access easement that runs across the boundary, across the boundary of all of those lots. Basically, the owner wishes to maintain that White Wing Drive as a private access easement to be able to maintain access, to be able to control access to it. And that's where those lots would maintain access from. In favor of the variance request, this is similar to others that we have that have been proposed in the past. Maintenance would be private, reducing the need for future public maintenance. All of that property would go on to the tax rolls. And again, we're creating some non-conforming lots, and there are alternatives such as the developer dedicating and building White Wing Drive as a public road meeting the city's minimum standards. Staff does recommend approval of this variance request with two conditions that are outlined in your staff report. That the roads constructed in the private easement be constructed and maintained to a standard that will support fire and EMS vehicles, and the developer provide the city with a copy of their HOA documents and let the legal department review those so that we can ensure that the future maintenance of that private street. So again, staff does recommend approval of that variance, and this one's a preliminary plat only, so you don't have that fund language. You'll just recommend or approval or denial of the preliminary plat.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Jared, I've got a question. The front, or the part that's, what's that, Bob White, the front's Bob White there? I think it's Bob White that comes in the backside of Quail Creek, correct? You're coming in the back way off of 59 on Bob White?
Yes, sir, Bob White.
It's Bob White there. What is his proposed use with that? Because right now it's just a laydown yard for some old trailers that, not too sightly.
I don't know what the proposed use is. It's just platted as a commercial
You
lot.
said commercial lot.
So it
What
could,
type of, I mean,
we don't have any control over that.
I know Ron Kramer and a bunch out there have done a lot to develop the park right next to that. With the mud, fire department, what have you, and they've really
Right.
done a lot. And you look out there, and I've got some very good friends that live out there. And that laydown yard has become so unsightly, I'm kind of wondering what kind of commercial use that's going to become. If it's just going to become a laydown yard for old manufactured homes that he's scrapped out there.
He has other property out there that could probably
Well,
be
I
used
know
for
he
that.
does.
I believe there's an applicant representative here. That may be a question you could ask.
I would like,
them.
because right now, I mean, after looking at it, it's just, will this be maintained to that level of the same standard, or, I mean, I'm just curious.
I don't know. All we have jurisdiction over is, because it's outside the city
The plat
limits.
itself, I
Is
understand.
the plat itself, and whatever that proposed use.
Will that street meet the subdivision standards that he's proposing to put in? And
For
who-
Duck Drive, it would. Bob White's existing, obviously, but the Duck Drive, the part that would run south of the track you're talking about, and connect over to the other end in the industrial park, that would be dedicated and built to a county road, a rural road standard, or the city's ETJ standard, actually.
Doug Drive will, White Wing
What?
is just going to remain a private access road.
Right, but Duck Drive will be paved and built to the city's ETJ road standard.
It's a rural
Wait.
standard, isn't it, Jared?
Actually, this is an ETJ, so it is a rural
ETJ.
standard, but there is a difference between the city's ETJ road standard and the county's road standard. Ours is a little more stringent than the county's.
So this is actually out in the county, it doesn't fall under city ordinances. So the new road for new residential, I mean, I'm a little concerned that we're putting residential lots in on a dirt road,
Well,
which is White Wing. I mean, we're talking about putting in, 11 residential lots on a dirt road.
possibly, yes.
13.
Well, no, it's 11 lots.
22.
11 lots are going to be
11
immediately
adjacent.
adjacent to.
Yeah.
Right,
right.
right. There are 11 lots that will not have public street
You know,
frontage.
and White Wing is paved up to Bob White.
Right.
Yes.
So we're letting the developer get away with not having to pave new residential lots, and there's no guarantee in the future that he's going to have to. pave those lots, no matter what he does further along White Wing. Because he owns, I'm assuming he owns the rest of the land all the way down along White Wing, all the way down to the mud.
Adjacent to the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a condition put in there that they have to, well, they're gonna have to maintain the private street. So it would depend on what he puts in his conditions, covenants, and restrictions.
I'm just kind of concerned about the definition of maintained. Does that mean
Good
run a
question.
maintain, does that mean run a maintainer down it once a year?
Good question.
After it's washboarded out?
Once the plat is filed, the city will not have the authority to
I understand.
regulate that, so it's a valid concern.
So Jared, taking that and what you just said, what's the legal department review, essentially? What does that entail?
They're going to review the developer's homeowners association deed restrictions or covenants to make sure that they're at least properly set up so that there's some sort of maintenance fund or mechanism to maintain that roadway.
As far as the actual work done, I mean, there's no, as Mr. Woods alluded to.
Well, if you're talking about the initial work, this is the preliminary plat, so the final plat will come in. We won't file the final plat until that private roadway at least meets a standard that allows, fire and EMS vehicles to traverse it. They can drive down a gravel road. I don't know what the developer is actually proposing to do here, if it's going to remain gravel or if it's going to have some asphalt or seal coat or something put on it. That's another good question that you can ask the applicant's representative.
Be glad to.
If this were within city limits, would we be allowing a dirt road to be put in here?
No.
No.
It would not meet code.
So are you through?
I'm done if you
Any
don't have any more
more?
questions.
We're going to go ahead and open it up for a preliminary plat public hearing to the audience. Anybody wishing to address this commission, please do so. State your name and address, and could you limit to 5 minutes, please, sir?
Excuse me, my name's Craig Lawrence, and I own the 5 acres in front of all of that, and I own part of White Wing, and I was wondering what the implications were going to happen to me on that.
Where's your property, sir?
Yes, sir, I'm
It's right up at the very front, up there, right where Duck Drive is, and Warehouse Road intersect.
2.54 acres? 2 point.
It's 5 acres.
Are you
It's
this
right here.
Okay, so you're up here.
No, I'm in this.
Oh, you were down here.
I'm right here.
Well, this is privately owned property, so you would
Well,
not.
see, I own this part right all the way over to here.
Understand.
Where are we at, Jerry? Help us out.
All the way down.
Yeah. Where'd the cursor? There we go. His property is
down?
this piece here.
That says
Okay.
5 acres there. But see, right there where that road is, I own that part right there.
Well, the proposal would mean that he would potentially be able to, fence or gate that off and block access because he owns the property.
Well, I understand that, but I didn't know if you had to have access all the way through.
Not the way this variance is worded.
So did I just hear it correctly that if the proposal goes through the way that he could fence that off and prevent access along White Wing to this gentleman's property?
It's private property, yes, sir.
Could you get to it through Duck? Yeah. Yeah, I can get through it up through Warehouse Road. I just didn't know if I would be losing that land so for the access of the road.
No.
That road does not have to go all the way through?
It does not.
Or it's going to
Does
stop.
that answer your
Stop
question,
at the
sir?
end.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
just
Well,
didn't-
they could stop it right there. Their responsibility, under what they're stating, is that they're going to maintain it up to the edge of that property line. And if they wanted to put a fence across that, they could.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that shows here, all the red outline on.
Which would basically stop that dirt road from going all the way down.
Thank you, sir.
to the plant.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing? I'll go ahead and close the preliminary plat public hearing. Do I have a go ahead and open up for variance public hearing. Anybody wishing to address this commission on the variance, please do so at this time.
I guess my concern is that the part of the ETJ review for us is to make sure whatever goes in the ETJ meets code, right? This does not meet code as presented. Bottom
That's
line.
why it has a variance, yes, sir.
But it does not meet code, period. And there's a way for it to meet code if need be.
Yes, they could improve White Wing Drive as they are improving Duck Drive. So that they could,
So to go back to Mr. Hayek's concerns at previous meetings, it's just a financial reason why he doesn't want to improve those roads to meet city code.
you have his variance application in there, so.
But, I mean, that's one of the conditions of approving a variance, if it's strictly a financial hardship. And that's the only reason he doesn't want to meet city code for this plat, is just for purely financial hardship of the applicant. That's not a reason to approve a variance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Let me ask a down-the-road question. If the city were ever to annex this, we would then take over the responsibility for this road? It would have to be converted over to a,
We would only take over responsibility for public roads, county roads. So if White Wing were to remain private, it would not be something the city would take maintenance of. The county won't take maintenance of it either because it's private. It'll be solely up to the homeowners within that subdivision to maintain that. That's what's proposed.
That's a rather large expense for 22 homeowners. I understand the Quail Creek subdivision is maintained very well. And it's a very nice subdivision. I hate to see us shortchange them and not look at their best interest in this. Ron Kramer and a bunch do an awesome job out there maintaining that area. The mud, the homeowners association, what have you out there, they do a great job, and I commend them for that. And I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that.
Jared, the large tract that runs parallel to this track on the other side of White Wing, is that owned, I mean, is that something y'all research and find out who owns that? Is that owned by the same person?
Safety Railway.
Safety Railway.
Safety Railway owns all that. That's their laydown yard out
I
there.
didn't bring my cheater, so I couldn't read it.
Okay, so I'm trying to clearly understand this. So the variance is essentially, the way I see it, is so White Wing won't have to be, so White Wing won't have to be paved. Is that correct?
It won't
In a
have to be
sense.
paved, in a sense. It won't have to be paved to meet city ETJ road standards.
Okay. And the reason, as Mr. Woods alluded to, appears to be financial. Does anybody want to address this? Urban, or the representative? Ray? Monica?
Well, if I understand, we don't have to approve this variance, and it can just, so if I don't hear a motion, it's dropped. Right?
Or do we need a motion to disapprove?
You could do a motion to disapprove.
Make
That
a
might be
motion to
little
disapprove
cleaner.
the variance as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to disapprove the variance as presented by Mr. Woods, is seconded by Mr. Caldwell. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. It's been disapproved.
Let's go ahead and do a motion to disapprove the plat, the preliminary plat as well, if you don't mind.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to
So moved.
We have a motion on the table by Mr. Woods to disapprove this plat. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Caldwell. All those in favor of the disapproval of this plat, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Final, preliminary plat disapproved. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, one more variance for you tonight. This is Paliska subdivision number 1, resub number 1, located at the corner of Crestwood and Vine on the northeast side of that. There's an existing single-family home on this property, and it previously had been platted to create a couple of side lots. And now it is back before you to create some duplex lots. It's a 1.44 acre tract. As I said, the applicant's proposing to plat the property into 10 duplex, two-family residential lots, along with maintaining that existing single-family lot that's there. Here's a look at that preliminary plat. Again, this one is just a preliminary plat tonight as well. You can see on here kind of the outline of the proposed private access easement that would provide access to those interior lots. A couple more aerial photo angles for you to see. As far as infrastructure, water is going to be provided by an existing 8-inch line in Crestwood, and sanitary sewer by a 6-inch line that's in Crestwood. And of course, drainage would be provided along the open ditch sections that are already existing in Vine and Crestwood. Access is going to be provided by a 20-foot wide private access easement that would provide access to both Vine and Crestwood. The easement would be striped as a fire lane, and in this case would be paved to support fire and EMS vehicles. Same variance request as the last two, section 2155L, which requires each lot to have frontage on the public street. Obviously, approval of the variance would allow some of those lots to have access via that private access easement that we saw. Some reasons for this one: the limited depth and public street frontage of the property. Private access would allow, the easement would allow them to develop that property a little more fully. As far as reasons in favor, it wouldn't necessarily create a negative impact on the surrounding property. Obviously would allow for some more intense development with limited frontage on public streets. Will reduce the number of driveways that we would have on Vine and Crestwood. As far as in favor, again, we would be creating some non-conforming lots, and the only other alternative here, I guess, would be to just plat it with fewer lots, larger lots. Staff does recommend approval of this variance request with the similar conditions that we saw on the last item, that the roadways be constructed, that are constructed in the private easement be constructed and maintained in a standard that would support fire and EMS vehicles. And the developer provides the city a copy of their HOA and deed restrictions, and let our legal department review those and approve them to ensure future maintenance of the private street. Oop, too far. Staff does recommend approval of the variance request, as I said, and this one is just a preliminary plat, so it would be a straight up or down motion at your depending on what you want to do with the plat as well. Be happy to answer any questions you may have on this one.
I guess the same question, no, on this one, the private access road, what are we talking about? Now we're within city limits.
Now you're within city limits. It does have to be paved,
Okay.
just like, apartment complexes or anything else. So on the onset, we're insured with a quality road in this particular case. And again, we would want to review their HOA documents so that to make sure that there's something in place so that those individual homeowners have something that'll provide for future maintenance or repair of that facility. My understanding in this case that the garbage collection would be at the public roads, as well as all of the water meters would be up at the public roads as well.
So there's going to be am I reading this correctly, that this is going to be a 20-foot wide lane to get into these properties, either from Crestwood or from Vine?
Yes, sir.
That's a fire lane, 20 foot.
Yes, sir.
Concern I had in trying to figure all the squiggly lines on here was, there's really two things that come up. One, parking. When you're talking duplexes, you're talking generally rental. Generally, you're talking more than one car per household.
Right.
You know, even with two cars, I'm concerned with a 20-foot lane and cars parked on the street, what that's going to do to that area.
Well,
Would the street itself meet city code for a residential street?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what they're proposing, because it's just as a preliminary plat. We don't have what the construction plans would look like as far as the pavement. It's going to have to be paved.
So would it
Obviously,
meet-
in its
would it meet
width, it's
city
gonna be-
code for a residential street, curb to curb, the right?
No, this is much narrower. Minimum city road standard is 30 foot. Typical we see is 36 foot. To get back and answer your parking question, I can answer part of that. Each house is going to have the same 2 paved parking spaces on it that we would require anyone else, so there'll be that. The private access easement is going to be striped as a fire lane, from what I understand in here, so there wouldn't be any parking on it. But I think I've heard that there's a revised proposal that would provide some additional parking. There's going to be some other on-site parking spaces, is that right? Correct? Okay. So that'll
I
be...
didn't hear all that, Jared, sorry.
Sorry. My understanding is there's going to be some additional parking that would be provided for visitors.
What,
In
like they're
addition
like
to
they're going to
the-
give up a lot and convert that to a parking lot, or?
Let me get back to the graphic. I
Where
don't
would that
exactly
be?
know where those are at, but there's room on the area between the single-family house in here. The access easement is here. It divides this area, and so there's room in, appears to be some room in here where you could provide some additional off-street parking there for visitors.
They'd have to develop some kind of a walkway to get from there to,
Well, they could walk on the
sidewalk.
driveway, but
and my second question is drainage. Where is all this paved area going to drain to?
it's going to drain into the existing ditches that are in Crestwood and Vine. This part of Vine is heading, I believe this part of Vine is heading down. It's towards the river.
My concern is just the street width and the congestion in there. And what you alluded to as well is these will all have to bring trash collection up to the front in order to be served by the city?
I don't know I think that's probably something that's still in negotiation. That's what I've been told, is that they plan to wheel the carts up to the,
So if
Crestwood or
there's
something.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 duplexes,
so you'd have
that's
10
20
carts.
households. Each household can have up to 2 dumpsters. Or
Three
could-
counting the recycle
Could
bin.
possibly.
Yeah, for sure.
So you could have up to 40 lined up on the street out there? No? I'm just asking.
It's 5 duplexes, 10 units.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. 5 duplex, 10 units. Okay, thank you. Each lot is not a duplex.
Each
Okay.
lot is half of a
Half of the duplex. Okay. That's why I'm asking.
There'd be,
Yeah, you've got an A and B.
A and B, you have A and B there.
I got you. I need to borrow my own cheaters, I guess. Get stronger ones.
Looks like it's just going to be one entrance, right, off of Vine.
I thought there was an entrance off Vine and Crestwood.
there is, in
can't-
There's a
between,
fire lane off Crestwood.
the fire lane in
Yeah, it's
between lots.
It's hard to see, like you said, with all the squiggly lines.
And you know, if this moves forward, you'll get an opportunity to
Basically
review
right
the
in
final
between
plat.
those
But
two.
there's an easement between lots
There.
5 and 6. 5A and 5B and 6A and 6B.
I think I'd like to know a little bit more details about additional parking and the trash situation. If there's anybody here that
So
can help
that,
answer those questions.
and city utilities will not be run into this subdivision, correct? Or what I call it subdivision.
My understanding is it'd be service lines run out to this. Is that correct? Like,
I'm sorry, what do you say?
He said like an apartment complex.
When I went out and looked, I was trying to
Yeah.
picture this.
It's hard to picture it out there like that. I mean, just,
Looks good.
Was, Jared, you said the final plat, when the final plat comes through, we'll have, what opportunity to review this again? Just on
Yes, sir.
detailed construction? How about the road?
You won't see the road. We could get more detail from you at that time because you're not actually approving, there aren't construction plans like there would be in a normal public road that would be submitted with this.
My question would be the depth of these lots, I guess, for each one, as far as city code as well. And frontage wise. Are we good on that?
We're good on that.
Yeah, if you look at count as each two, lot 5A, 5B. is-
Right.
Combine those together because it's duplex,
30, I
right?
believe it's 35 feet is the minimum. That may be too big. There's a smaller, each unit has to have a minimum of 30 or 35 feet of
Foot
frontage.
frontage,
This
right.
this definitely exceeds it. Each one of them's got over 40.
Yeah, Tangerine, a lot of those are 38 feet wide, so this is wider than that.
And it's all curbed and no gutter, right?
I don't know that detail yet.
I know you have your fire lane. Like I said, one of the concerns earlier was just the congestion in there traffic-wise for fire and EMS access. I think it's going to be very congested if you were to have something take place in there, a house fire, what have you. That much, I mean, that's why we have the wider residential drives in the city limits, is for that access. Is there any room in the development to give a little wider road? That's why my curious is, and still keep the aesthetics of the lots.
When you open the
yeah,
you open the public hearing, they can
Okay.
well,
get
we're
them.
going to open it up after.
In your deliberations, we can
Sure.
still
Does-
you can still
you
ask
bet.
Does a
questions.
fire lane require sidewalks like a city street does?
No.
Does not.
I think probably the best way to think about it is like an apartment complex.
So it's an alley. Apartment complex access road.
Well, it's a driveway. It's a driveway.
Anybody have any more questions?
I'm good with Jerry.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and open it up for a preliminary plat public hearing. Anybody wishing to address this commission on this item, please do so at this time. Please limit yourself to 5 minutes, unless we have some more questions. Hey,
Good evening. Monica Pretty, Urban Engineering, 2004 North Commerce Street. I'd like to address any questions that you may have on this. I know there were a lot of questions about the road, the drainage. It'll be concrete. There are notes in the preliminary plat that are very tiny on there so you can't see. One of the things is, in talking with fire, this is going to be a striped fire lane to prevent parking in there. So what will occur is, if you park in there, yes, you can get towed. Each one of these houses is going to be a duplex, so you're talking about 5 houses, 10 units. There's a setback. You've got an oversized one-car garage. You've got 2 parking opportunities outside of each driveway. So each one of these lots is going to have 2 parking spaces. And then there is also another area that we are going to provide for internal parking inside there. So that's how that traffic is going to be handled. A normal street width, whenever you're talking about residential and you're talking about laying down pavement, is actually 28 feet of paved surface, but you're allowed to park on both sides of those roads. So by narrowing it and providing an actual island of parking off to it, that's what that is accomplishing. The only way to get that fire lane notation off is to widen the street to 24 feet, which is also a possibility. But we are not looking at the possibility of doing away with that additional parking, if that answers your question.
How many parking spaces are you anticipating providing off in this additional parking area?
We're looking at doing 5, which provides half a parking space for each unit there, or half of a duplex, 1 per duplex.
It still seems inadequate. I mean, you can drive through just about any neighborhood that's predominantly rental in this city, and there's 3 or 4 cars per house, and we're talking about duplex. I mean, parking seems to me like, and I'm with Mr. Wood, I think it's going to be a major problem here in this area.
Being that this is a private road, correct?
It's a private access easement.
Private access easement?
Yes.
Fire lane still enforceable, correct?
Yes, that's why we are striping it in order to meet the minimum requirements of the fire marshal.
It's enforceable, but would it be maintained for the safety of the residents is my concern. It's being enforced is one thing, but they don't have time to patrol it. And the time it's going to come into play is when there is a situation there, and there's no access for a fire truck to get down this road because of a lot of on-street parking, and they can't come in. And that puts everybody at risk for response. I mean, the striping on the road doesn't stop someone from parking there, it just stops them from doing it legally.
Correct.
That's my concern, and I'm concerned about the congestion in there for fire and EMS access.
They're understood. The driveway is actually 25 feet in depth. On a normal residential development, you're only required to pave 20 feet of surface. Now, there are also grassy areas that are going to be adjacent to the fire lane. It's not that we propose that people park in the grassy area. That's not something we're proposing, but as far as what you're talking about, it's going to be further depth, so that way you're not going to have trucks. You know, I know in my neighborhood you've got trucks that overhang sidewalks and whatnot, you know, so we're looking at deeper parking spaces within the residential driveways.
If these lots were taken in by 2 feet in depth on either side, to allow at least another 4 foot, would give you a 24 foot, yes? Still be a good sized lot to build a duplex on. You're talking about taking 2 foot of yard off the back of each one to set them back a little further, but would open that road up just a little bit wider to give a better fire and EMS access in the event it's needed, and kind of relieve that congestion for cars passing and what have you, would it? Yes, I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I mean, with the design of how their layout for what there is that they're putting on there, this works. You've got a 10-foot utility easement and building line that's in the back for
I saw that, yeah.
the utilities. I'm not sure how much further back we can push it.
Me personally, I'd rather see a variance to encroach upon that utility easement in the back and give a little wider street for those residents. That's my opinion.
If you go over, if the driveway is 24 foot, you no longer need to stripe it as a fire lane. So,
And that's an option, I think Monica or Ms. Pretty said that they are considering still, right?
Yes, it is an option. That's the only way that we can get it off of there. And if we were to widen it to 24 feet, we're not looking at taking away additional parking opportunities because we recognize that it's something that would be good for the development. I mean, so that's not something that we're opposed to doing.
Driveway, Jared, 20 feet is code for a driveway?
which kind of driveway?
Going up to a house.
Oh,
For
yeah.
a duplex.
Okay, yeah, for duplex.
you're
She's
with the
talking about doing 25 feet.
Yeah, if you've got parking side by side 20 foot,
Okay.
you can do tandem, so that would let it go down to 10.
What are your thoughts on if instead of doing 25 feet, they did 23 feet? What problems do you see that causing? Because that gives us 4 feet, because that gives us the additional 4 feet where we could make that a 24-foot wide.
The driveway's been this way, but I'm talking about the width widening the street.
Right. Well, I understand what Mr. Call is on about. Is that instead of the private driveway on the individual lots being 25 foot deep, he's proposing 23 foot, so you can get an additional couple of 3 feet of pavement on the actual private access road. Depends on how important it is to you that it's, the way it's proposed, it's striped as a fire lane, which means it's very easy for, I think it's easier to enforce the no parking on it with it being striped as a fire lane. If you expand it to 24 foot, we no longer have that.
I guess my concern is stripes are wonderful and that's fine, but they don't stop people from parking there. And with that, I mean, it's just, you can park there as long as you don't get caught. And when it's going to come into play is when there's people parking in that fire lane that hadn't been caught, and a fire truck or an EMS unit cannot get in there and serve these folks.
The fire marshal reviewed this, and this was what his requirement was. The fire marshal indicated that for fire trucks, they will not be driving down this road. They are going, you don't have the benefit of the construction plans on this because it's just a preliminary plat. There will be fire hydrants placed out in the right-of-way at the entrances. They will fight the fires from, if there are any, from Crestwood and from Vine. They will not be bringing a fire truck down there. They will bring ambulances and things like that, but for the purposes of fighting a fire, they're not going to take the unit all the way down there.
You're telling me they're going to park a fire truck on Crestwood? Mind you, I'm a retired fireman. And they're going to pull a discharge line, 1.5 inch line, all the way down that street to fight a structure fire?
It's 286 feet.
I don't see that happening. I'm sorry.
Well, but if that's what the chief says.
And I'm not saying fire
And
marshal's office. I'm just
if
saying.
they fought it off of Vine Street, it's 200 feet. That's not.
If there's a hydrant here, they're going to tie into a hydrant, pull in, bring a supply line to the truck, and pull up discharge lines off the truck nearest to that structure. If we can't take a fire truck in here and fight a structure fire because of the road width, then I have a problem with that. I'm sorry. I mean,
He didn't say he couldn't. He indicated that
He
that's where
wouldn't.
they would fight, yes, that's where they would fight the fires from. It was reviewed. This is what was requested.
I just can't see them. There will be no hydrant in this.
Do they
In
have
this
any
subdivision?
hydrants in the so-called apartment complex?
Yeah, there's hydrants in apartment complexes, yes. There's fire department connections on every building.
You have to have a
That's
minimum
city
of
property.
400
I'm
feet
just
of reach.
So I just want to make sure.
300 feet?
You can look on the apartment building, there's a FTC, that's fire department connection on the
Sure.
side of the building.
on all the new ones. That's true.
Yes. We keep alluding to this as a apartment complex, but it's not. These are individual structures.
Yeah, that's what's kind of confusing me a little bit.
Well,
I mean, as a duplex, I have to have a fire department control access on the outside of a duplex?
no.
Okay, so there's not going to be fire hydrants on
We're just
each building.
using that as a comparison of how
For the parking.
fires are fought in
Okay.
an apartment complex. You do have a hose length requirement of 300 feet, and this would meet that on either end.
Want to live in 4A or 4B. I mean, personally, I'm glad to see something going on down here, because I know for years there's been, on and off, there's been different things that have been signs up that there's going to be different types of businesses
Right.
and stuff over
I
here.
understand.
So I'm glad to see it. I'm just wanting to make sure that, and I've also have some questions about the trash. I mean, if fire truck's not going to go down there, trash pickup is not going to go down there, and it's going to be down on the street. So all these people that live on Crestwood, they're going to have multiple trash containers, or is it going to be commercial trash pickup where there's going to be one big dumpster?
Why would trash truck not go there? Who said trash truck can't go there?
Well, what's been talked
Talk
about
about
is the
fire
track.
Well, for one thing, they're going to have to back up. when
They have a
when they
smaller
get, when they
trash
get down to
truck.
4A, they're not gonna be able to pick up at 4A, they're gonna have to back up out of there. Because they can't go all the way through.
I don't see the city doing trash pickup for each one of these residents because it's on a private road, would they?
Well, that's what's been talked about is picking up their trash at the public road at Crestwood or Vine.
Okay. But the city will not go onto a private road to pick up a dumpster, will they? I don't believe they will.
They can.
If it's commercial?
They can. If you recall, we've done some townhome developments. Of course, they haven't materialized yet, but we've approved plans for townhome developments that have private access in there, and there were easements and opportunities for the city to get in there and serve those individual units, or a centralized place to pick up the trash where they would be served by the city and not a commercial hauler. So Miori, if y'all remember Miori Place across from the old Victoria High. Of course, those haven't materialized yet, but those were proposed to be served that way.
Okay.
Jared, if we approve the preliminary, that gives us an opportunity to see more detailed design.
Yes, they would move.
Before the final plat, correct?
Right, if you approve this tonight, obviously the variance would go to council, and then at some time in the future, they would submit a final plat, and you'd get some more detail at that time.
Okay, and if the final plat, I guess this is really our only opportunity to bring up concerns about the
This is the
plat.
one that has the variance.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is the one where, if you want to condition, there's been talk about an additional 5 parking spaces, which are not part of staff's current recommendation. If you want to add an additional condition on there that they provide that additional parking, or, this is your opportunity to make those kind of suggestions or make them conditions of the variance.
If I may, if you look at note number 11, and I realize it's very, very small, it gives the right of ingress, egress. This access easement grants for any public or private utility, any governmental function, the ability to go down and do whatever it is that they need to do on this road without the right of procuring any type of permission from anyone ever. So it's been talked about doing it numerous different ways, but they have the ability, it's the minimum width for a fire lane. A fire truck can drive down there, whether or not they choose to. I don't
Whether or
know.
not they can, if there's not traffic on both sides of that street. Yes, they can if it's,
Right now, the city is picking up trash in alleyways.
I understand.
These are private alleyways and much narrower than the street they're proposing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
They do that in
physically enough
Castle
room to
West
do
all
it.
day long.
Okay. I'm just,
So, any more questions? I guess I'm gonna need some help on this one, because I think what we need to do first is we need to have a motion to approve the variance, right?
Right.
And once we do that, we'll have some,
Once you do that, you can enter into discussion again, and
Right.
y'all can talk amongst yourselves about anything else you want to do.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance as submitted.
okay, we have a motion on the table to approve the variance as submitted by Mr. Wayne and second by Mr. Rashid.
And
Right. That's a tie, doesn't matter. All those in favor of approving this variance, please show by a sign of your hands, please. All right. All those opposed? Okay. Variance passes. I did that because I wanted to make sure, because since we're having a lot of...
understand.
All right. So now let's go ahead and do a preliminary plat and variance deliberation to see for the wording.
Oh, this is just a preliminary, so it's just a simple motion to approve or disapprove the plat. Preliminary plat.
All right. All right.
I'd like to hear from some of the folks that are in favor of accepting it the way it is. I mean, I know there's been some discussion of concerns about parking and road and trash and all that. I'm still on the fence as to whether or not this is something the way it's presented right now is good. I think it's close, but do any of the other commissioners want to speak out in favor of approving this?
Well, they've done the design work, the fire marshal has approved it. You can what-if something to death, I think. Also, what if a car's here, what if a car's there? Well, what if there's a train and you trying to get through it at that time? You know, it's all doable. In my mind, I mean, I don't see any flaws, I mean.
That's how I feel. I mean, they've addressed the issues we've brought up. Now, sure, it doesn't meet the, I guess, the width we're looking to obtain, but the next step would be, okay, they're gonna mark the curb, no parking. And I realize it's only as enforceable as they choose to make it. And then when I say they, I guess the HOA.
Well, or anybody. You go to HEB, you see a fire
Yeah,
lane,
well-
you don't park there. You know, so I mean.
I don't see
people
anything here
adhere
that
to
is a
it.
showstopper, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are other concerns, yes, but are they showstopper? I don't think so.
I like the idea of this, and I'm just picturing it as kind of a, streets kind of like Hidden Meadows, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a good
You know,
comparison.
they're all paved in there. It's a nice neighborhood. It's a nice area. You know, I've seen work going on in there because I've done work in there, and you can actually park on the street and cars can get by. I don't know how wide those streets are. It's close, but for the most part, people respect
They are much narrower.
everything that's going on in there, and they abide by the rules. And
We have another similar case to this that I didn't think to bring up a little while ago. And further down on Maori, there's a huge lot that's got a big house that's in the center, and there's a loop road that runs around it, and there are duplexes all around it. It's very similar.
It's the Total development.
Yes, sir. Very similar. We haven't had any issues out there either. But it's got a U-shaped drive around it, and there are, I guess, at least 3 sets of duplexes out there with room for more that never have been built. But it's something similar that's been done.
But they're not selling those lots. Those are privately owned.
Those are it's all
maintained by the homeowner. All the utilities are maintained by the homeowner.
And he's very selective as to who he lets in.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that's not a residential
Well,
subdivision.
but it's a similar layout. I mean, I
It's a
understand.
Similar
similar
layout,
layout.
yes, it is, but I mean, if you're gonna. Todas are all individually owned, is what I'm saying. These are gonna be sold. Are they gonna be, I'm assuming?
Well, these are being set up where these could be sold. To be honest, I've looked at that Toda development, and it may be where it's done where they could be sold off. We don't remember the detail on it.
Okay.
They are not. They are all
I'm
owned
very
by.
familiar with that area.
Well, I guess if these are being set up to be sold, potentially could be sold, that'll be up to any person who's going to consider buying them as to whether or not they want, if there's enough parking or if the neighborhood has enough parking and if they have concerns. I think most people drive down their neighborhood that they're looking to buy to see what it's like after hours, and, you know, you don't drive by at 8 o'clock in the morning when everybody's gone. You drive by at 8 o'clock at night when everybody's back from work and you see all the trucks and cars parked on the street, so.
All right. So what do I hear, now, my understanding, we're going to have to go ahead and just approve the preliminary plat.
Right.
There's no special?
There's no special language on that.
All right, so do I hear a motion to approve
So
this?
moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Rashid to approve this preliminary plat. Do I hear a second? A second by Mr. Wayne. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. Preliminary plat passes.
Just think it's too congested.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, one more. This is for agenda item E4 is for a final plat for Salem Crossing Phase 1. We saw, I guess, the preliminary plat for this back in July, I believe it was. So this is the first phase of that. So, this final plat is a little over 31 acres. Property is owned by Rex Horse and Salem Crossing Limited. The first phase includes 49 single-family lots and one drainage public access easement lot along the boundary of it. We'll show you that in a little more detail in a minute. Well, here's the minute. You can see their first entrance, or their primary entrance on this phase is where access will take. Let me start over. Their access is going to come off of Zacklands Parkway, the area on the frontage road between Salem Road and Home Depot there. This lot that is down here on the bottom of it is a large detention facility, and that's that drainage lot that I was talking about earlier. You can see the first 49 lots. When they get to their second phase, I believe, is when they'll have a connection over onto Salem, through the back over to Salem Road. Or at which point they get over 99 lots is when they need to do that. A couple of aerial photos showing that. This is looking back towards, you can see the Zacklands Parkway up there on the top of the photograph. And just a little piece of Torin Bells and Cayman furniture up there. And just a different angle looking back from the opposite direction. With this one, for infrastructure, water service is going to be provided through a 16-inch main extension in Zacklands Parkway. Same thing with sanitary sewer, an 18-inch main extension. And drainage will be in accordance with the master drainage plan. It will be directed towards that detention facility that we saw there at the bottom of the plat. The first phase includes 5 new local streets: Salem Crossing Drive, Boston Circle, Town Hall Lane, Beacon Lane, and Harbor House Lane. As I said, access to the subdivision will be through Zacklands Parkway. And the construction plans for this phase have already been reviewed and approved by Public Works. Oops. With that, staff does recommend approval of the final plat and be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do I hear, we'll go ahead and do a final plat deliberation. Anybody from the commission? Everybody all right with that? I know we approved this, Do I hear a motion?
I think we messed up approving that driveway off of Zacklands. I think that's going to come back to end up biting us.
Right past that exit ramp?
Right there.
TxDOT has reviewed this already and is ready. I don't know if they've actually issued the permit, but they're ready to.
Doesn't necessarily make it good.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm still concerned about, and I know we've already approved the preliminary plat on it, and we should have probably talked about it more, and I should have been more adamant about it. I'm concerned about this access road off of Zacklands to get into it,
The frontage road.
the frontage road.
The speed limits on that road's 50, 45, 50?
Probably 50.
Yeah, when we discussed it, yeah. And he and I both had concerns. It was right there at that exit ramp. It's right inside that exit ramp. It's
Alluded
just,
to some red light that's gonna go up somewhere along there?
Someday there'll be a traffic light at Salem, at the
Salem
frontage
Road,
roads
yeah.
at Salem Road. Yes, sir.
yeah, there will be eventually, but this is right before the access ramp onto the loop, or right past it, isn't
It's
it?
I believe it's
Right
it's before it. You would
It's right
drive past
before
the
it.
road, and then that ramp would come down
It's right in
past it.
between.
You can have people merging, trying to get on it, plus an entrance to a neighborhood right there. Yeah. We had talked about it last time, and I'm with you. I had some concerns about it then, but with the TxDOT review on it,
TxDOT's reviewed it. It's kind of hard to see on here, but that exit ramp is actually way down here.
that's where it ends. Yeah.
That's where it ends. So there shouldn't be any conflict with the road that's proposed, and the road's
The
proposed
only way
to be
people
right
will
there.
access it, they'll have to go to Salem, take a left, and go down that way then, which is
Well, in the secondary phase, we'll have an entrance off of Salem.
off of Salem, yeah. It's just real near that access ramp. Or exit ramp, excuse me.
Do I hear a motion to approve the final plat?
I'll make a motion, we approve the final plat as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Spheres to approve the final plat as presented. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Wayne. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Final plat approved. Other business, Mr. Jarrett.
All right. The monthly development report is in your packet. Not a whole lot to talk about in there. August, other than all of these major plats that we just got through doing, was a little bit slow, but that has certainly picked up in the last couple of weeks. Of note is a new P&H tire facility on Crestwood. Be back beside Texas Tool and Hardware. That's the one site plan that was received during the month of August. And council did approve the variance request for the Stubblefield addition that you reviewed and approved at last month's meeting. Moving on to the permit activity, 13 new homes permitted in August. Nothing commercial-wise, but we're getting close to ending the fiscal year. We're 11 months into it, and we're doing really good. $156 million in permit activity for the fiscal year, which, as y'all know, runs through October through September. But for the year, really, really good. And as I said, we've gotten several site plans in the last couple of weeks, and talking with lots of folks, so hopefully some of those will materialize into more activity before we end the calendar year. But happy to answer any questions related to that. And also, there's another little note on here about we have a special meeting date for October. As y'all know, we normally meet the third Thursday of the month. Well, all of the staff is going to be, they have moved the planning conference. This year it's way up in Frisco, north of Dallas. And they've moved the date for the first time in my memory. It's normally the first week in October, and now it's the third week, so it created a conflict for us. So we've moved that October meeting to the fourth Thursday, and I don't remember that date. It's the 23rd. Okay. So just make sure you mark your calendar on that. We let all of the development community know about that months ago. In fact, if you've got our calendar, that date was already on there. As soon as they announced the conference, we went in and changed our calendar. So there are 5 Thursdays in October, so it doesn't cause a conflict with us going into November. But anyway.
I appreciate you doing that. I was going to have to miss the 18th meeting.
All right. Well, now you can be at the 23rd.
I keep my attendance good.
Is anyone attending the conference?
No, sir, not this year, with it being all the way up in
That's too bad.
Frisco. But I don't know if we know where the next conference is, but we'll make a more concerted effort to at least try to get those that haven't been to
Well,
to
we're
go
at
to
the
that.
last year.
All right.
Jared, one quick question, what's other, just out of curiosity, on say July 2014, what's the other?
Oh, the permit activity?
Yes.
So that could be banner permits, there's a whole, it's a catch-all miscellaneous category. So that's
Miscellaneous.
a lot of
Catch-all.
miscellaneous,
Okay,
catch-all.
just curious.
Permanent banners and, I don't know if billboards fall under signs or under other, but a lot of little miscellaneous things we do. So that's what's falling under there.
Is that it, Jarrett?
One more thing, the October 7th meeting, staff will be presenting kind of an outline in the beginning of a new comprehensive plan process. The council finished adopting the budget last Thursday, or no, Tuesday. We've had so many meetings I've lost track of when they were. So Tuesday they finalized the budget. Included in there was money to begin a new comprehensive plan process. So you'll begin to hear a little bit about that here in the coming weeks and months. So we'll be gearing up for a whole new plan. The original plan that we're working off of was done in 2000, adopted in 2001. We did a minor update to it, and that was adopted by council in 2009. It was rather just kind of updated a few things. This will be a whole new plan that will be starting. So we'll be doing a lot of kind of gearing up and outlining processes and kind of getting ourselves ready to go at the first of the year in January. So you guys will be involved in that. So just so you kind of know what's going on and aren't caught off guard, because the planning commission will be integrally, I didn't say that right. You'll be involved. So anyway, that's it.
All right, items from the commissioners. Anyone wish to say anything?
I just want to say, I appreciate everybody's input. And, you know, I think we have a responsibility if we want to change something, or, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is if we want to head down a certain direction, I'm all for it.
You know, since you said that,
No, but I mean like bringing up the street width or the financial thing. I know I appreciate you bringing that up today.
you know, I wanted to say this. I wanted to say I think today's meeting was a lot of good dialogue that we need to have those things. That's why we were in these positions that we're in, and I appreciate everyone's input. It was good, and I appreciate what you said. Mr. Hyde. That's a good thing. And I'll say thank you again.
You're welcome.
And
Thank y'all for having me.
And if no one else has anything, I'd like to hear is any motion to adjourn. Anyone?
So move.
Oh, we have a motion by Mr. Woods. Second.
Second.
All right, by Mr. Caldwell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.